Okay, so
Any extras of these?
we're all set for sure.
Okay, the meeting will come to order. Welcome to the Shellfish Conservation Commission meeting of September 12th, 2023, 6:30 p.m. Those present are myself. We have Darren Granada, Nate Orff, Terry Toomey. Item 3 on our agenda is approval of the minutes. Are there any adjustments that anybody has to the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Item 4 on our agenda is Harbor Master's report.
Good evening. Good to know that all the clam flats are now reopened for the time being. Hopefully it'll stay for a while. Just on a side note, the bids are in for the new cranes, which look really good. The pier, the repairs, I'll be meeting with the deputy chief and lieutenant tomorrow to review those, get those moving ahead as soon as we can. Please, and I know we all, please prepare for the upcoming storm, Hurricane Lee. At this point, it doesn't look like it'd be much, but be prepared. You might want to secure your boats. It'd be a good time to stay in. I will be out for the entire storm, so feel free to call. But again, I'm still looking to hire a part-time harbor master if anybody knows anyone like a retired person or something.
What's it pay?
I think it's 20 an hour. That's all I have at this time.
All right, thank you, Gene. Item 5 on our agenda is council liaison report.
Yes, the only thing I have to report is that we had a question on some ordinances that had to do with approving farm stands as well as private sales for seafood. I spoke with Chairman Noah Nygren and provided the feedback for him initially, but would be looking forward to getting feedback from the committee. I think we have it as an agenda item. That's about the only thing. Otherwise, we're consumed with school and land issues and year-end issues as we are running up to November 7th and the election of a new council and then installation of a new council, I think, on the 14th. So we're just trying to wrap a bunch of things up before that date.
All right, thank you, Don. All right, item 6 on our agenda is old business discussion and action on the proposed recommendations from DMR relating to possible amendments to Chapter 1002, Town of Scarborough Shellfish Ordinance.
I just moved Paul Ari in as a panelist so she can join this discussion.
Great.
Hi, Ari.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me all right? Perfect.
There were a couple of questions on a couple of different places in the ordinance that I emailed and spoke to Ari about. She's going to go over those. Clean copy of what we had discussed at the last meeting, along with the ordinance that we sent out to DMR for review.
Okay.
You're on.
All right, perfect. Thank you. I apologize if there's any weird technology things. I just got a new work computer and this is my first time Zooming with it. So hopefully everything is good. So Cody, you and I had been working on those 3 points with the ordinance, and I received some language back from Meredith. I will forward you the email and also just kind of go over it right now. So with the first come, first serve, I think you and I had a miscommunication on that. We're not saying that first come, first serve has to be taken out of the ordinance at all. We're just saying that the same process has to apply to both residents and non-residents. So if you keep residents receiving recreational licenses as first come, first serve, then you also have to offer that to non-residents. Or you can issue licenses by lottery to each group. It just has to be the same, but you as the town and the committee can determine whether you want it to be a lottery or first come, first serve. Now, there is an exception to that. If you changed your allocation to be unlimited resident licenses and 10% non-resident, then you could offer first come, first serve to residents. But you couldn't do a lottery for the 10% because issuing 10% of the number of residents from the previous year would be how you do that. The only concern there is you probably would have a lot of residents wanting a license, and could the resource support the number of licenses you might potentially issue? So we can talk about that now if you'd like, but that is kind of, those are the two options you have as far as issuance.
Okay, so when I spoke with our town attorney on this, he said where the, when we initially sent the ordinance up for review, it was approved. So when we sent it up the second time to DMR for review, we sent it up with the green language that was to be reviewed. And I think what you ended up doing was reviewing the whole document again. So we could dig our heels in, I guess is the term I could use, and state that since it was initially approved with the language that we had originally put in, or that had always been there, and that we've been doing this for, oh gosh, a number of years, that we could go by the initial approval.
I apologize. Something happened with my computer, so I only caught you saying the initial approval. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. So when we initially sent our ordinance up for review, that was back, I think, in January, February.
Yep.
And it came back with no recommendations. It was fine. Then and I think you were at that committee meeting where the Shellfish reviewed the ordinance again and made some initial changes, and I believe we had to send it back up for that review, those changes.
Yeah.
So we did those in green. And I think what happened was the ordinance itself was reviewed in whole again, when it should have only had the green.
So
reviewed. Go ahead.
Sorry. Yes. So that initial approval, I'm going to take some ownership of that because I'm guessing what happened is I did not catch this. And then when I sent it to Meredith, it was also not caught. So while I understand that it was initially approved, we made a mistake, and I apologize for that. We are trying to go through these ordinances with a closer eye. And this is not the only town that this is happening with. I think in the end of your email, you had also asked what other towns had to change an ordinance because of that. And just this spring, we couldn't approve an ordinance amendment up in Eastport that had proposed to offer first come, first serve licenses to residents and a lottery to non-residents. So there is at least one other town this has come up for. I don't know, were you folks planning on trying to vote tonight? I know you said you weren't sure if you would have a quorum.
We do have a quorum.
Oh.
So at this point, what we would have to do is essentially take a vote on what they want to do with this change. But my other thing is when Meredith went through the ordinance, in our ordinance, we're also recommending it's like a moose lottery, but it's a shellfish lottery setup. So I guess I was questioning why that didn't, if you weren't going to allow us to do a lottery system, why would we leave in the lottery point system?
You can do a lottery system. It just has to be a lottery for everybody or for no one. That's the clarifying factor.
So Ari, let me clarify this real quick. So what you're saying, if I understand this right, is whether you're a resident or a non-resident, recreational or commercial, you have to treat them the same as a first come, first served basis or a lottery for everybody.
Correct. And if you as a committee in the town wanted to do the first come, first serve to residents, then you could change your allocation to request unlimited resident licenses and 10% non-resident. Then you could offer that first come, first serve to residents because there's no possible way to do a lottery if a number is unlimited. But I recognize that presents its own set of challenges, and yeah.
So before we even, correct me if I'm wrong, before we even had the 20 non-resident recreational, I believe we always held a commercial, if there was a commercial license that became available, we held a lottery. Is that correct? We've always had the lottery system in place for the commercial. So even before we started issuing the 10%, because we kind of got slapped on the hands for that, we didn't realize that it was supposed to be 10% for the recreational ones. So and I think I emailed you this too, with like safety issues, I guess, around, because we would have people sleeping out in the parking lot. We would have fights out in the parking lot over licenses. We'd have people who would come from the back, run to the front to get to the, so they could get a license. And we felt that we had to do something. So that's when we started implementing the lottery system for the non-resident recreational licenses, because it was getting out of hand.
I hear
We
that.
weren't discriminating, it's just that safety of everybody. And
I can also, Meredith's unavailable today, but if this is something you want to get further into and not make a decision on today, because I recognize that it's different from probably what the committee was anticipating, I am more than happy to loop Meredith in to this conversation, and she might be able to explain in better terms than I can right now. But as it states, and you said, like, if you had a commercial license become available, do you mean if there were an extra commercial license?
no, so we do the renewal process. You have to do conservation time in order to keep it safe. At this point, somebody moves out of town, or unfortunately they pass away, or they turn in their license, and that's still part of the allocation. Come that next season, we put it out for a lottery. And we do that to both the commercial resident and non-resident.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at her comments on, that was the second question in our email that you had sent to me. And she said, if you're talking about after renewal, as long as everyone is treated the same with a lottery, then there's no problem.
Okay.
After, so then any licenses available after the renewal period.
Gotcha. So, well, let me ask you this. So we have the, and I think we talked about this, and you said that we were fine with the 90-day piece because the license doesn't become available until May 1st.
Correct.
So we start issuing the resident recreational.
We'll give out 200 of those,
Right,
right? And then it's not sold by August, then it's first come, first served. But we
Right.
also give out lottery for non-resident or residents.
well, that's what we're
Non-resident.
discussing, yeah.
To
So,
get it both ends.
well, I was just thinking, not everybody renews their clam license.
Do
The
you,
recreational ones, not everybody renews their,
you're saying not everybody renews every year?
not their, yeah, not the resident recreational.
Right.
I guess I'm just trying to find a.
I'm looking at, I had to find the regulation before I can really, I gotta digest this section. I found it. So how, right now, it's lottery driven for the commercial guys.
And the recreational too. Because we take the 10%, which is it's 220, so we take, we do a lottery for those 20, for non-resident. And I don't know how, gosh, we've been doing that.
But then after August, it's first come, first served. We don't sell 200 residents. So when we sell 150, there's 50 non-resident, right? First come, first served.
And usually those are all non-resident. This year we had 0 available, but in the past.
You said you had
we
0 this year?
We had, we sold all 200 recreational resident. Yes.
So,
Last year we had like 50 available, and it was first come, first served. We had a line out the door.
right,
That's the
and
first time in a long time that we've had none available.
yeah, and I think that was the concern that Meredith brought up when I was having a conversation with her was, you know, you could certainly move to unlimited, but in a town like Scarborough, it sounds like that might, like, again, you have a line out the door and people just keep coming and
Yeah.
Yeah,
what's
we
gonna happen to
basically- We
the
basically
resource?
cannot have unlimited, if I'm being honest.
Well, in our senior, we also do the lottery for the non-resident senior, and theirs are free. We do what, 14? We do 140 resident seniors and then 14
Non-residents.
non-resident seniors.
There is a
It
note
seems to
in
me-
here. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna mention something, Ari, is it does seem to me that we have worked out a system that seems to be fair and equitable and also, you know, not disruptive to town operations. So I would be concerned, along with what you've heard from other folks about changing something that would make it, you know, unwieldy and create other issues for us. So you know, that's the issue, is the, you know, is the, your technical issue that you're raising more important than actually leaving something for the most part alone that's worked well and was approved locally.
Yeah, I hear that. I really do. And especially with Cody bringing up the concerns of, you know, people camping out in the parking lot and coming to fisticuffs. I mean, nobody wants that. It's just, it's not good for a town. It's not good for anybody. And unfortunately, like I said, I can have Meredith. I'm more than happy to have her speak to the committee or to Cody on this more, but it comes down to statute regulation. And I don't know as there's a way around it unless you did unlimited license sales. And you
What if
can't,
it was previously approved though? Because I know that doesn't make it right, but it was approved.
Yep.
Previously.
So-
Like, you know,
Yeah.
I'm hoping that might work, because otherwise I don't think we're gonna be able to get this potentially passed in time either.
So what I would say in that case, if, you know, we can look back at the communication from when the very first draft was sent up, the one Tony was mentioning with the green changes. And that would be out of my purview. I don't have the ability to make that decision. That would go to Meredith and potentially Cole. But if that's the consensus of what you're thinking tonight, like, then I'm more than happy to communicate that to Meredith, and maybe she can have a different conversation with different information than I'm able to provide. Go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead. Already finished. I had a point or something. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the information I relayed tonight was directly from Meredith. So I don't know as she would have anything different to say, but if you wanted to raise the concern of the original approval and just have a frank conversation with her, I think it's worth it.
So this ultimately, as an ordinance, will have to come before the council. Will have to
Correct.
receive the council's approval. So what if the council sides with the committee here and decides, or the commission here, and decides to leave it the way it is? Doesn't home rule still work for us here in Scarborough?
I'm not sure because it involves a statute regulation. I don't know. I don't know that well enough. I apologize.
I can tell you that we would be prepared to go down that avenue as a council. I can safely say that.
Okay.
So I don't know if that makes any difference, but
Again, I'm the low person on the totem pole, so I get to, I'll be the punching bag, but unfortunately I don't get to call the final shots. So I understand it's frustrating. I really appreciate everybody's willingness to have the conversation, and Cody, especially, you've been in communication about this. I don't have anything else that I can offer tonight for a solution. Unfortunately, it would be somebody above me.
well, the only folks for us as public officials that have pay grades higher than us is the public, and it starts really with the commission here that has authority. So we were willing to go that route. I just think it's important that you know that. And we've had a pretty good record in terms of, I think, working well with you in the past, and appreciate all your support. But this does sound a little irregular, and it just seems like a technicality. I don't know how the miss occurred, but if there was a handoff and a miss, and we're dealing with a record of prior approval, I think we're going to probably start and go from there. I don't want to speak for the commission or the council, but I have some sense on this.
Yeah, as long as our council liaison is confident in that position, I'm sure that that would be supported by the commission. Does anyone else want to talk about the date of February 21st, or am I jumping the gun, Tony?
No, Ari, can you just go over that real quick? There was 2 February 1st dates in there. On page 7, if you look at the ordinance.
Bear with me to find that email.
It was under fees.
September 11th, 9:38 a.m. That was,
Oh, emails, yeah.
that's what she's looking for. It was yesterday at 9:38 in the morning.
If you saw the state of my inbox, you'd know that wouldn't help me much. Anyway,
This was to do the,
we spoke on the date, Cody, and it sounded like that was fine, but now I'm hearing it might not be.
oh, I just wanted you to explain why we wanted to change that date to the 21st. It was to do the issuance of shellfish licenses, and the first date was prior to February 1st of 98. In each succeeding year, the committee shall report its findings. And then the second paragraph was, after receiving approval of proposed license allocations from the Commission of the Marine Resources. And we had prior to February 1st again.
Right, so having the 21st is that 20-day timeline that's required by DMR for, us to process the recommendation from the town. You and I talked, you're always on top of it. I never have to actually chase you down for anything. So just putting that date of the 21st in there covers that 20-day requirement anyway. And you're still fine to sell the licenses before they become active. That's not a problem.
More of a housekeeping issue.
Exactly. It's just, silly paper pushing issue.
Now, I explained to them about the delay in the active license from, they had said July 1 and we said August 1st. we can stay with August 1st because the licenses don't become effective until May 1st.
Yep.
Okay. I think that was,
So we're gonna have to vote on the date. And we don't have to do anything yet on the 65 and over licenses. We're just gonna keep that the way it is, right?
Mhm.
Okay. I suppose, was there any other discussion?
we have her on the whatever question.
Yeah. Okay, well, hearing none, Ari, is there anything else for us?
No, I don't think so. I was just getting ready to draft a quick message to Meredith to loop her into this, and Cody, feel free to reach out to me after the meeting or tomorrow, certainly whenever, and we can continue the conversation and try to get things resolved.
So
Yeah.
other item on the agenda was the 23 surveys. Did you want Ari in on that conversation for anything?
Not yet.
No?
I don't have anything for you unless you got questions for me. I know we didn't connect on any surveys this year. There's a couple more, but it's getting late in the year, so I know you're busy right now.
Have the October survey on my calendar.
Yeah, what? I'm sorry, you broke up.
I believe there's an October 6th or something survey. Let me.
Yeah, there are more. I don't know if you're gonna be able to attend them, but we can talk about that later. Was there any other questions you had specifically for surveys right now, or?
I have a question.
Okay.
So the surveys, I kind of get mixed. Are maps required for the longitude, latitude, which is, I know before when the surveys were turned in, they always had the graph, and then they had a map. But is that still required, or do you want the longitude, latitude, or both, or? I'm not quite
Honestly, it's, both would be amazing. I also understand sometimes you only have like 3 or 4 guys out there doing it, and it's hard to get all that. I have lat and long, I can make a map on my end. It's very, very easy for me to do that. I just went and did a survey for another town, and I just recorded the lat and long and made a map in like 40 minutes of the track. So if that's what you want to do, every smartphone typically has like a compass that you can open and just have it like on your clipboard, and you can write it at each plot. That totally works.
I know I jumped the gun, but I just wanted to ask that because I know that's under new business, but while she's on, I just didn't know if you wanted to. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Ari.
Okay,
Thank you, Ari.
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank
it,
you.
Ari. Take care.
Thank you. You as well.
All right. So, Cody, I think what we'll do is we will have to put the date change on the floor, but we will wait on the 65 and over licenses. We have to vote, change February 1st to February 21st.
Right, when you kind of, it was the 65 and over.
You can't treat the. Says in the comments, may not discriminate between resident license holders and non-resident license holders. This was for 65 and over. Complimentary resident recreation licenses.
Are you talking about page 10?
Yes,
Okay, that was the one we were discussing, that's regarding the lottery piece.
but we don't vote on that right now. That's gonna stay how it is.
That's my understanding. If that's what the commission wants, then it stays as is.
Okay, so what I will do,
Is that the one that they want us to make a lottery out of?
No, that's the one they want us to do a first come, first served basis on. Or the other piece is unlimited resident recreational. And then my understanding is 10% of the prior year we could do it as a lottery. So but we want to keep it as is.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Yeah, yes, it has to stay as is.
Okay, so I would like to put on the floor the date change under page 7 of February 1 of 1998 to February 21 of 1998, or would it be,
No, it would be that.
February 21 of 1998? Do I have a second?
This is just a housekeeping issue.
All right, thank you, Liam. Do we have discussion? All right, those in favor? Okay, we have Nate, Terry, Noah, Paul, Liam, Darren. Are there any opposed? All right, thank you very much. Item 7 on our agenda is new business.
Can I just clarify?
Yes.
So what we're recommending to move to the council is all the changes that we've approved past. We were going to move forward with the lottery. We're just going to move it forward like we did. Okay.
So you're not gonna challenge the one that they approved and didn't approve that part, or is that still? open?
I can email them. I need to give them dates, but I'm pretty sure that it's to move forward.
That's, then we will do that, and then we'll see what happens after that, so I really don't know how it goes, but I think we make a point, so
Mhm.
see how it plays out.
Great.
It's not even in, I just looked it up, I'm gonna send it to you. Where she's referencing is in rule.
Right.
Where she's referencing is in rule. So I'd like to know when the date was changed. Because that's important. If this was changed before that was sent in there, it doesn't apply to us. This is not, it referenced statutorily the revised statute of Title 12-6671, which is ruled by the legislature. But what she's referencing under what we call 6174, Chapter 7, Section 7.40 is in rule. It is not in statute.
So it hasn't been passed yet?
Well, no, it's in there.
Okay,
But my question would be is when did it pass? When did this pass? Because if it passed prior to us sending that in, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's the point.
it didn't.
And I don't know when this regulation,
Right.
I can't tell you when, because the problem is, and from my days in Marine Patrol, I know that they can change a rule at the stroke of a pen on a daily basis. You know, it has to go through rulemaking authority, which rulemaking authority is, they have a first reading, a second reading, and they can change it at the commissioner level, it doesn't go to the legislature. So my question would be is when did this change?
Right, so if we got our thing in before it went to rule, we would be okay.
Right, so that is fundamentally my question,
Yeah.
when did the rule change?
All right, thank you, Darren. That's a good catch.
Yes.
So, under new business, first item is discussion on 2023 surveys, which we did briefly cover already. And I guess first I'll open it up to discussion. Is there any discussion people have remaining on the 2023 surveys?
How many surveys did we end up with?
So I was gonna ask Cody if anybody else has turned in another survey.
They have, and I truthfully can't tell you what to do.
That's okay, because that would bring us up to 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're up to 3
That's
right
the
now.
balanced rate,
Okay,
that's what you're saying?
We've,
Because it
yeah,
says
it's
two,
been-
two computers, so plus one other.
Yeah.
That's pretty slim.
How does this compare to last year? 3 surveys.
if it's 3 good surveys, it's better.
And I think we have some more on the calendar too.
There's an
That would be
October one, I
nice,
thought.
Yeah.
Okay, is there any other discussion on surveys? Okay, thank you. Next item under new business is discussion on proposed zoning ordinance changes regarding farm stands. As a quick intro, I think you all heard about the email that was sent and the concern about farm stands. I think Elijah Holbrook had the concern. And that went to ordinance committee, and they basically revised performance standards of the zoning ordinance to include commercial fishing language within farm stands. And I didn't have any major concerns with it. So anyway, what I'd like to do is I'll put this on the floor and open it up to discussion.
When did this come up? I didn't know anything about it.
It was,
I mean, I had to go to the zoning board of appeals twice to sell things in my house.
But you sell things that you don't catch.
oh,
don't you?
yeah. This is
I catch
for,
clams.
Do you catch lobsters?
I don't catch the lobsters, but they approve me.
Right, but I just think that the point is, if I understand it correctly, I just sell.
No, but I'm not understanding what this is
It
about.
wasn't an allowed use in that area, correct?
Yeah,
So,
And he's producing all this stuff, Elijah or
no,
whatever.
no, he's not. He just asked.
as I understand it, he had the ability to sell from his house because of his commercial license. He didn't need, an ordinance approval, a new farm stand ordinance approval to do that. But that's what generated the review of that ordinance. So they have added that. But the question I have is, does that mean people without licenses could sell clams from their homes if they didn't harvest them themselves?
It still wasn't an allowed use too in that area.
And the language said commercial fishing.
Right. Okay.
So
Yeah, my only question was, I wanted to make sure that committee A knew about it and B were confident it wasn't gonna affect them in any way or confuse the rights or somehow limit rights you had already. So, and that's a question for you guys to answer. I didn't really know the details, but I said I would chase it down and come back, so.
so anyway, that's just the history of it. I did not find anything concerning to me, and I wanted to ask if anybody else did. That way we could let our council liaison know. Paul?
My question is, was it just clams that he was selling there opposed to rhubarb and apples and corn? I mean,
Well,
you say the word farm stand, and to the best of my knowledge, for instance, if you're a commercial clammer, you can sell from your dooryard, that's what the state says, correct?
yeah, it is.
Well,
So, I mean, that's already a given, so I just didn't understand, was Mr. Holbrook
Now,
selling other products besides,
This isn't about
not that
one
I'm.
individual.
Oh, I didn't mean it like that, but I mean, well,
No, it's, he just asked the question, but it's not
Yeah.
about any one individual. There's a bunch of allowed uses. I mean, it says what you can do.
Does that allowed use give you permission to make any size sign out at the front of your driveway?
I'm not prepared to recite the performance standards of the farm stands, but
I was a home occupation. They would only allow me a 2x3 sign. I asked permission for 3x4 and they turned me down.
if it's an in-home business, they still have to follow the same rules for sign ordinances as anybody else.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm getting to. I mean,
Yeah.
if somebody's got the permission to sell clams down at their house and they got a 5x6 sign out there,
They still have to follow the
you know,
same.
they're
regulations.
not going by the zone and the sign ordinance. So,
I understand the concern, Terry. That's actually that's a different section.
I mean, I'm just bringing that up.
Yes. I get it. That is a different section. I didn't have any concerns. Was there any other concerns?
You can only have a rooster if you have more than 80,000 square feet. See that there.
Thank you, Mr. Orr.
I have a copy,
Where do you get this?
I have a copy of what went before the council, if anybody
my
wants
roost
to
is
talk.
dead.
So that's
All
what
right.
went before the council on that.
This here?
So I just don't understand, like, doesn't seem like the town, why is the town even involved in selling clam? You go clamming and you sit in a truck for 10 minutes and you meet someone in your driveway to sell them the clams you just dug while you get your lemonade and then you go sell your clams. I don't understand why it has to be any more than that. It's not a farm stand.
It's not, well, it's not an allowed use in that zone. And that's what they're changing, is to make it an allowed use. He had to do a special exception.
It wasn't allowed in RF, he's in an RF zone.
Correct. So they amended the ordinance to include, I think it's called.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
that's,
it's
that's what I
called,
did. All right, that's
yeah.
clear now,
It's
so.
called commercial fishing and harvesting, and that's under definitions, and they also amended the performance standard, and it's the same title, so it wasn't an allowed use in that area. This will allow it in
I
that
see,
area.
yeah, I understand.
So he did, so after all, Mr. Holbrook did need to get this change in order for him.
He did get a special exception, he went before the zoning board of appeals and did get a special exception while this was in the process of being changed, yes.
So
He
bells and
followed all the
braces,
rules,
he's got
he followed the process.
twice.
All right, is there any other discussion?
No.
All right. Item 8 on our agenda is to set the next agenda. And I'd like to ask if there's any other topics people would like to talk about at the next meeting. Paul,
How's the residency going as far as, well, the residency, as far as somebody living out of town? If we talked about, I see it's all scratched out here in green.
I believe that was removed by the
Yeah.
commission.
that,
Are we
That
not-
was-
Are we giving up on that, or is that gonna, are we gonna have a talk about that again?
that we're not doing now because it wasn't gonna pass.
I understand
So-
that,
That's, for now, you are correct. We're not doing it now.
because I would have an interest for pursuing that at some point.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's a good idea because, well, the way the town's been managed, it's hard for a young person to buy in Scarborough. And anyways, I'd like to talk about it at some point again.
Okay. I don't know about next meeting. I mean, we
Well,
can.
certainly, no, I'm
Okay.
just saying, I would hope maybe we didn't have to give up on it. I didn't know what the other committee members thought.
The last time it came up, there was one person in particular on the council who was, intent on challenging it. And we didn't have sufficient support, I felt, from the committee or from the council to get it off the ground. And Robert Bellot was some of the main drivers of it. And now maybe feelings have changed a little bit. And now we've had a couple, almost a year of continued growth and continued pressure on people being able to, make a living, be a resident in Scarborough.
Exactly, that's
More than a person. So I think that the sentiment, it's gonna be a new council November 15th, so November 14th. So I don't know, it's worth bringing up again, but you gotta have a critical mass and a lot of momentum starting here. And when we did that last time, we had a hard time answering what about them not paying taxes question if they become a non-resident and retain their commercial license. Some people were feeling that paying excise tax on your vehicle wasn't enough, but and if you move, what's the hook? That was the issue.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other items that people would like to discuss at the next meeting? And how are your thoughts on an October meeting? All right.
How about skipping November? I mean, it says no agenda.
Well, we're.
Is that what you were getting to as far as your thoughts?
Manamet wants to come and do a little presentation on the project they're doing, close on mapping stuff. On the Clam Flats in Scarborough, anytime from November to December.
So not October. We probably do it like Christmas or something. December maybe.
December,
Yeah.
we're not.
So the only thing I'd say is how many, you didn't meet for a couple of months in a row over the summer, right?
It was like 2 months in a row.
So 2 months in a row, you didn't meet in the summer. The worry I have is if we're gonna have to do a mad dash again on surveys or getting the licenses ginned up again, because every year that is a headbanger, and I'd rather not start thinking about it in January.
Okay, as far as October goes, the surveys are still not all going to be done. Some of the surveys are scheduled for October, actually, 2 of them. So we are not going to have all of our surveys due yet, at that time. But by November, Yeah, we might have to meet in November, Paul, but I suppose is what it is.
The only thing I'd say is that, so you're changing council and then nothing really happens from November until January, and then, okay, it starts due in February. You know, you gotta put a marker in the ground sometime between now and the holidays, and the end of the year. Yeah, so otherwise, yeah, we'll be meeting again over pizza, you know, on a weekend, on a Sunday night. It was good fun, but I don't want to do it again.
You don't want to do it again? Okay. Item 9 on the agenda is general public comments. Do we have any general public comments?
I did have one question for Gene. So we're getting quotes, so it's the end, you know, it's almost mid-September. Can we get this done before the snow flies? The repairs on the ramp and also the crane and the pier. Because I know the expectation was, and I know we started this long ago, was that was going to be done before the beginning of the summer season. And I would hate for us to slip another couple of seasons, so.
Absolutely. It's only getting more expensive with inflation.
I'm only getting shocked for my crane every day.
I have a question, and, well, in regards to the, is that set in stone, the recreational guys pulling their moorings October 1st, like my,
The contract says we have to have them out. If we do
is that
not,
the commercial guys too, or what?
the commercial
Hey,
guys,
guys, can I finish this up
Oh.
first?
Yeah, fine, then,
Yeah.
understood, I
Yeah.
understand completely, sorry about that, Chairman, Mr. Chairman.
No problem. Item 10 is items for working document. Does anybody have any items for the working document? Okay, item 11 is adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second? Those in favor?